Welcome to another episode of Crawfordsville Connection, the City of Crawfordsville's weekly podcast that comes out every Monday morning. I'm your host, Sarah Summer, and I'm joined in the studio every week with Mayor Todd Barton to keep our community up to date on current events, city workings, and to hear from community members on a variety of topics. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed the show. Welcome back to another episode of Crawfordsville Connection. I'm your host, Sarah Summer, and today I'm joined in the studio by Mayor Todd Barton.
Hello.
Hello, you're back.
I'm back.
You took a week off?
I did.
Yes.
Snuck away.
Yes, snuck away.
There you go.
You're back for the podcast. We're recording a little early this week.
Back for the podcast and on the road again for some presentations.
Yes.
So, yep.
Busy guy, right?
Got to make it happen.
Yes.
Go get it.
It comes with the role, right?
That's right.
Well, today we have a number of different people from Wabash College joining us to talk about some of their upcoming events. We've got the Malcolm X 100th birthday celebration, as well as Community Art Day. And we don't have any announcements today, so we will just go ahead and jump right in. And we're going to start off with our Malcolm X 100th birthday celebration group. And we'll start off with introductions. Dean Stephen Jones, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are, what your role is at Wabash, and why you're here talking to us today?
Well, thank you very much, Sarah. Delighted to introduce myself. But let me begin by saying thank you to Mayor. It is great to be back with you. You've always been a wonderful advocate for Wabash College. And so we're delighted to spend this afternoon with you and keep doing the great work that you're doing to make Crawfordsville a better place. So
Thank you.
Kudos to you. So who am I? Stephen Jones, Wabash class of 87, returned to the college in September of 2016 as Dean for Professional Development and Director of the Malcolm X Institute of Black Studies. It was a job that I never imagined that I would hold. But after spending some time contemplating the discussion I had with then President Hess, I've been back now for almost 9 years, and it has been an absolute joy.
That's awesome.
And so we are delighted to be in a position to help impact the lives of young men. As the mayor knows, Wabash is not easy, but it will be worth it. And so from a Malcolm X Institute perspective, it is a special labor of love to ensure that our students of color, as well as those members of the Wabash community who join the MXI, because our membership is open to any student on campus, that they find what it is that they're going to do after Wabash College.
Right.
And so thinking about how do I help them prepare to do more for themselves than they ever imagined, and then be able to do more for their families than they ever imagined. And so we're here today to spend a little bit of time talking about what's going to happen on April the 2nd and 3rd. May of this year marks the 100th birthday of Malcolm X, and we wanted to do something special to honor his legacy. And so I partnered with my partner in crime who's with us this academic year, and he'll have an opportunity to introduce himself. But we're looking forward to 2 great evenings on the Wabash College campus. And it coincides very nicely with the fact that this year, come September, is also the 55th anniversary of the Malcolm X Institute of Black Studies. And so we're looking forward to a great 2 evenings, April 2nd and 3rd.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And with us, we also have Dr. Jamal Watson. Do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are, what is your role with Wabash, and how are you involved in these events coming up?
Yeah, thanks so much, Sarah, for having me. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for having me here today. So I am spending the academic year here at Wabash, and it's been great. My home institution is Trinity Washington University in Washington, D.C., where I'm a professor and an associate dean. So I'm on sabbatical, so I'm spending my year here. And it's been great to collaborate with Dean Jones and also to teach some classes at Wabash and really get an opportunity to experience, have the Wabash experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty unique experience, isn't it?
Very unique, and I think the pace is a little different in Crawfordsville than Washington. Right?
Very much so. but it makes it really lively for being able to finish a book project, which is what I've been able to do.
Yeah. Hey, you're not sitting in traffic half the day.
Right.
So that's a plus.
Have you been stuck in traffic at all yet?
Yes. No, not
not
at all.
here.
Not here.
Okay, yeah.
Not at all.
People in Crawfordsville think they have bad traffic.
No, not
you
at
don't
all.
have bad
No.
traffic.
Maybe stopped by a train though,
You-
right?
Have you been stopped by a train yet?
I have not.
Oh,
That's
see,
good.
there
That's
you go.
good.
There
That's
you
You're
good.
fortunate. You're fortunate.
Awesome. Well, let's start off, for our listeners who might not really know what the Malcolm X Institute is, can you give a general overview of what that means for the Wabash campus and maybe Crawfordsville in general?
Sure. Well, I like to think of the Malcolm X Institute as being a vital connector between the Wabash College campus and the city of Crawfordsville. Um, the Institute was established in 1970. Originally in 1967, there was the Afro House or Cultural Center, but it evolved into the naming of the Malcolm X Institute in 1970. There were about 9 students and a couple of administrators who are listed as the founders of the Institute. Ironically, when parents are visiting with their prospective students now, they always comment, "Wow, you got this building up really quickly," thinking that it was done after the George Floyd
Mhm.
incident. And so I then provide or take that opportunity to provide the history lesson regarding
Right.
the rich legacy of the Institute. And so, as a part of being a vital part of the campus, we get involved with, the 152nd anniversary of Second Baptist Church. We were a part of the visit by the Freetown Village Singers to the Presbyterian Church here in town. We have always tried to find a way to link and connect, to help explain and to give some sense of exposure to the Black experience.
Mhm.
And so, because we have been around for now 55 years, I think our track record speaks for itself.
Right.
We've done a lot of good things throughout those years. Can't talk to you about the Institute without mentioning Dr. Peter Frederick, who was the first part-time director of the Institute, and then our longtime full-time director, Horace Turner. Horace was my director while I was a student at Wabash. And so to come in behind him and attempt to fill those shoes, it's been a humbling experience.
Mhm.
But you always keep in mind it's about the students and how do we make them better so that when they leave here, they are productive citizens in their own community. And so that's the why. And I think that connection to Crawfordsville has obviously been solidified, and it's a strong connection. Dr. David Hadley stops by from time to time and obviously, keeps me on my toes. Coach Johnson is a regular visit. And so I understand the importance of being connected back to the Crawfordsville community.
I'm glad I'm not the only one Dr. Hadley does that to. He likes to stop in and talk. So
Yes. Well, you mentioned that this year, coming up in May, would be the 100th birthday for Malcolm X. What does that mean for society today? Why is this important for somebody to know?
Dr. Watson, you take us
Yeah,
there.
so I would just add that I think when we view really the life and legacy of Malcolm X, he's probably one of the most misunderstood civil rights leaders of our times. Certainly folks know a lot about Dr. King and
Mhm.
often see Malcolm in the exact opposite of Dr. King. The reality is, I think their trajectories were very similar in many ways in terms of the fight for human dignity and equality for sure. And so one of the things we try to do, I think, even in the courses that I teach, is to try to help students understand the value and the significance of Malcolm's life. Really, really important for how he was able to help transform America in a positive kind of way. And so, again, I think on this 100th birthday celebration, what we wanted to do was have a moment of reflection,
Mhm.
particularly at a time when I think our nation is really still grappling, unfortunately, with issues around race relations and how do we come together is to really think about, in the spirit of Malcolm, how do we move our communities forward in a positive way.
Absolutely. And one of the ways you're doing that is on April 2nd with reflection from his very own daughter. Do you want to talk about what that event is and how you went about, selecting the opportunity to bring Malcolm X's daughter onto campus and what that looks like?
So this was a tag team effort, and I am very happy to have Dr. Watson in our midst for this academic year. He has been a tremendous asset and a great soldier in this process. His Rolodex is is deep. And so as we talked early on in the academic year, I kind of shared with him my vision of what I thought this historic event could look like, and that we were able to pull it off. And so I am grateful for him being in place. I knew that Dr. Shabazz had been to campus before, but I also knew that several alums would have loved to have seen her on the Wabash College campus. And so I wanted to create that opportunity. And then thinking about Dr. David Garrow and all of the work that he did on King and his later work on Malcolm, and understanding sort of what happened regarding Malcolm's assassination, I thought, wouldn't it be nice to have him join her? And so through the connections and relationships that Dr. Watson has, we were able to make this happen on April the 2nd and 3rd.
That's awesome. And both of these events are open to the public. That's the wonderful part about Wabash, is all of these events are open to the public and they're free.
Yeah.
And we don't even have to put it on flyers anymore. People just know.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that helps, Mayor, we talk about this all the time, is bridging that gap between our community and Wabash. And this is one of those perfect examples of being
absolutely.
able to do that.
Yeah. To get this opportunity right here
Yeah.
in our own community is, I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, incredible opportunity.
And let's just go over some of the, the details for people who might want to attend these events. April 2nd, 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. in the Fine Arts Center, Salter Hall, will be those fireside chats with Dr. Shabazz. And what can somebody expect if they're looking to attend that event?
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to having the conversation with Dr. Shabazz, really talking about, for example, the connection between her family and the King family, which most people don't realize. But her mother, Dr. Betty Shabazz, was very, very close to Dr. King's wife, Coretta Scott King, and the two families have had a very, very strong, tight-knit relationship. So that's one of the things that we'll cover, but also just what it was like growing up in New York City as the daughter of Malcolm X. What was it like navigating, through college and through adulthood as the daughter of this iconic figure. So we'll talk about that. But then she's also a professor, and she's also an author. So we'll spend some time talking about how she's been able to try to keep the legacies of her parents alive. So should be a really spirited conversation. But more importantly, we want to hear from the community. We want to hear from students. So there's really an opportunity for some Q&A.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And for those that would like a pre-read to better understand some of the history, Dr. Shabazz's novel, Growing Up X, we've made available as a pre-order through the Wabash College bookstore.
Okay.
So if you go to the bookstore website, you will have the opportunity to do a pre-order, and then there will be a book signing opportunity prior to the event at Salter Hall. We've tried to cover all the bases.
Yeah, that is cool. I'll make sure that we put that link to the website for the bookstore right in our show notes so people can click on that if they're looking to get that. And then, so that's April 2nd. And the following night will be a panel discussion. And that will be April 3rd, 7:30 to 9:30 in Salter Hall as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about what people can expect from a panel discussion, and how does that differ from the fireside chat the night before?
So I think the focus on that Thursday will really begin to look at what would life have been if Malcolm had lived longer. And so you have a David Garrow, who is a Pulitzer Prize winning author, a great historian. You have Dr. Shabazz coupled with our own Dr. Julian Whitney, and it will be moderated by a Wabash grad, Dr. Gerard McClendon, out of the Chicago area, who has obviously been a large and a significant follower of Malcolm from his time here at the college and even into his life back in Chicago. And so I think there will be an opportunity to discover some things that that most of us don't know.
Right.
When you have that kind of intellectual firepower sitting in the same space. And so we're looking forward to it. We're not trying to script it, but just let it be free flowing and create an opportunity for the community to walk away saying, wow, what a great night we had on tonight.
Yeah, I would just add that, Dean Jones had mentioned this is the 55th anniversary of the Institute at Wabash. And I think many folks nationally are surprised to hear that there's a Malcolm X Institute at Wabash in
Right.
Crawfordsville. But I think it's important to also use this opportunity to reflect on the work of the Institute and where we go in the future as well. So I'm hopeful that there'll be some conversation about that as well.
Absolutely. And, Mayor, I guess for you, we've talked a lot about our history in our community. What do you think the importance is in fostering these discussions around diversity and history in a community like Crawfordsville?
Yeah, a couple of thoughts there. I think first, I think there's a lack of understanding of how diverse our history really is in Crawfordsville. We've talked about this many times on the podcast, but if you look back at all the different groups who came together to make Crawfordsville what it was over the years, right, and how we assimilated and all the experiences that happened, and really moved Crawfordsville forward by doing that. I think we lose sight of that a lot of times because there is that that perception that this is rural Indiana and that's not here, and that's just not the case in Crawfordsville. So I think that's one thought, and then I think the other is, we talk probably every episode about growth in our community and what we're experiencing. And the reality is that we have to incorporate that history and we have to be inclusive and welcoming because we're going to need everybody to pull together to move this community forward. That's just the reality, right? And our population is becoming more diverse every single day, and we have to make sure that we do that in a thoughtful way so that it's not done so that we're segmented into different groups. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, a lot to think about there, obviously, but as we sit here on the cusp of significant growth, I think now is the time to make sure we're really out ahead of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, how do you all see, Wabash College and the Malcolm X Institute, helping move the city forward in that way?
Well, clearly, I think the students who come to Wabash and who join the Malcolm X Institute, those are the types of students that also do a number of service hours in the community. So when you think about an expanding base of diversity in the Crawfordsville area, they then will see young men in the classrooms who look like some of those families who are relocating here. And so I think that's a major plus. But it also helps Wabash because some of those students in the classroom will be men and who would possibly become students at the college.
Yeah.
And so we have to think about the long play and not just the short term, but how do we help each other create the kind of environment because we are stronger together. And so I think if President Feller were here, he would say, absolutely, let's find a way to build bridges, relationships matter, and build upon the rich foundation that the Institute has established over the last 55 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remind my students, and I'm teaching 2 classes this semester, that despite where they come from, they're residents of Crawfordsville while they're here and on campus. And
Your
that it's
second
important,
hometown,
absolutely, and
yeah.
that they need to be involved in the community, that they need to find aspects to the ways to support the community. And so I'm hopeful that that will continue.
Awesome.
Yeah, because I think the other big thing that the students don't always recognize is that we learn from each other.
Right.
When they go to Walmart, when they go to Taco Bell, they're interacting with people who are different from them. And that is a learning opportunity for them as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much. Is there anything else that either of you would like to add about your events, about your organizations, or anything that you think our listeners might need to know?
I would just like to close by saying, once again, thank you to the mayor. He's always been a significant advocate, and we're looking forward to continuing to grow along with the city of Crawfordsville and be a part of what's going on. We'll provide information for those that want to get the pre-order on the books.
Yes.
There are 4 that are available, 2 of each of our guests. And we're looking forward to a great event on the 2nd and 3rd.
And I would just add that it's been a pleasure to be a part of this community, be here in Crawfordsville. I was telling the mayor earlier that I think Crawfordsville has a great story to tell. Wabash has a great story to tell. And so I'll certainly be spreading the word once I get back to Washington to let folks know about all the good work happening here.
Great. We love that.
We're unique.
Yes.
We are unique. We say it all the time in many different ways. So glad you've enjoyed your time here.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're not going to just stay.
I've been
You guys
talking
have
to him
any
about
offer
that.
yet?
I've been trying.
His employer might listen to the podcast, so we probably should cut that. But yeah, no. And I think, Dean Jones, from your perspective, Crawfordsville and Wabash are very different places. When you were a student versus when you came back, and probably today from when you came back.
Yeah,
so it
absolutely.
just continues to evolve. But the incredible history here is just unremarkable. And we had to figure out how to pull that together as we move forward.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to the community getting involved with these two events and, making sure that these events are attended so Wabash can continue to do things like this where we're educating, the community, the students, and bringing those two groups together.
Great. Thank you, Sarah.
Yes, thank you
very much.
And the next group we have with us is here to talk about Community Art Day. And with us, we have Dr. Annie Strader, Julian Jamal Jones, and Anita Hardwick. And we had Dr. Strader and Julian on a couple weeks ago to talk about your exhibit at Wabash. And now we teased a little bit that something was coming, and this is it. Let's talk about Community Art Day. And we'll start off with introductions, though. Dr. Strader, if you'd like to start.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm the chair of the art department and also the director of the Eric Dean Gallery at Wabash College. So I have the privilege of working with the exhibiting artists and thinking through programming. One of our goals is with our artist in residence program, and Julian is our current artist in residence, is to consider ways that we can connect with the local community while they're in residence. And so this idea of Community Quilt Day came out of thinking through how we could connect with the Sugar Creek Quilters, who are a really strong organization in our community. And we're thinking about Community Quilt Day as a time where people can come out, learn about quilting, and kind of celebrate the legacy and the future of quilting in Montgomery County.
Awesome. And Julian.
Hello, everyone. My name is Julian Jamal Jones, the current artist in residence at Wabash College. I currently have an exhibition up at the Eric Dean Gallery, Amen, that ends on April 12th. I think that's it.
Awesome.
Yep.
And Anita.
Hi, I'm Anita Hardwick, and I am from the Sugar Creek Quilters. We've had our quilt guild here for about 32 years.
Wow.
We started it, and we've had a lot of wonderful exhibits here in town. One year we had quilts hanging all through the stores in downtown Crawfordsville,
Nice.
had a state guild meeting, and we've been doing it. We have 30 people that usually come to our meetings at night, and we try to involve the community with our love of our quilting and the art of it that we want to share with everyone.
Awesome. Well, let's just jump right in to talk about Community Art Day. We'll start off with, the basic details. When is it and where will it be for people?
Absolutely. It'll be Saturday, April 12th at the Fine Arts Center at Wabash College, which is 504 South Grant Street. And there's a parking lot right next door to it, free
Yes.
parking. And then it's at the Eric Dean Gallery, which is just right inside.
Okay. And, we talked about this with the other group. Wabash College events, they're open to the public. So please join. That's the whole point of this. It's a community art day. It's not for just the campus. It's not just for the students. And this is really a great way to intermingle, get the community involved with the campus and vice versa, and get people all together.
That's right. Absolutely. That is our goal.
Yes. And let's just talk about the exhibit. What can people expect? Why Community Art Day? What's important about this?
Sure. Well, we're looking at it because the exhibits right now are quilts. We have two exhibits, the closing of Julian's exhibit. And then we're also having a reception for an exhibit that Julian curated from members of the Sugar Creek Quilters. And thinking about quilting as this art form that is often thought of as craft, and having a conversation about how it sort of relates to other art forms, how it relates to personal and regional histories, and that often quilts are made in groups. And so this notion of forming community through the act of making as well. And so that day we will have a couple of different kinds of activities for people to participate in, as well as just viewing the quilts, the wonderful, amazing quilts that we have on
Yes.
view.
So, Julian, for maybe somebody who hasn't listened to the previous episode, talk a little bit about your work with textiles and quilting and what people can expect to see.
So I am a multidisciplinary artist working in different forms of fiber, photography, 2D. Um, my practice kind of talks about my experiences in my youth, my relationship within the Black church growing up, the hip hop culture. So really my practice is all about my Black identity growing up, and really finding who I am as a Black male living in America now. So I dedicate my practice to really finding and really experimenting with a lot of things. But what you can expect for that day, I actually curated my first quilt show with the Sugar Creek Quilters. As so far, it was a great experience. Just really looking at the different styles of the quilts and like just really thinking about how I wanted the show to kind of read to the audience.
Mhm.
I want to incorporate different styles. So you have more of like the traditional form, you have portraiture, you have more abstract, colorful, bold type quilts. I kind of want to incorporate all different, not genres, but different perspectives within
Yeah.
quilts to just show people that quilts don't have to be this one way. You can really break the boundaries and really do whatever you want to do. And also my students will actually be making a quilt, their first quilts that will be on display in the exhibition, which I'm really excited about, and I think they're excited about as well. And then even having some of the youth, the high school students, the elementary students also contribute pieces within that day as well. So I think it's going to be a very fun day, all different perspectives, levels of art. So I think it's going to be a great turnout and good day. So,
Awesome. It really lends itself the opportunity for people to work with one another and collaborate.
Mhm.
You think about a quilt and it's all the different squares and pieces coming
Mhm.
together. It's kind of like all the people. That's
Mhm.
what we want to see. It's a unique tie-in and a good twist to talk about collaboration and connectivity and what the importance is
Mhm.
of all of those things.
Mhm. Yeah.
One of the activities you talked about is the ability to actually have people design quilt blocks. Anita, do you want to talk a little bit about what that will be for people and how they can get involved in that activity?
Okay, we are going to have scraps. We, us as quilters, seem to collect scraps. They seem to multiply. So this is going to be an opportunity for us to get some of these out of our house. And we've kind of cut them into squares and triangles so far. And then we're going to have 3 or 4 sewing machines there. And hopefully everyone will sit down from the children on up and realize that they can sew on a sewing machine.
Mhm.
I have loved, we don't have a lot of men in our quilting world. And it's been so much fun when a man will sit down and go, "Oh, that was pretty cool. You mean this sewing machine is a computerized thing?" And I
Right.
can,
It's a
you know,
power
whoa.
tool.
That's
It's a power
right.
tool.
That's right. It's really quite fun. So I hope that we get all kinds of people who'll sit down, take the time to make some, sew a little square together. Hopefully we'll have the design wall up and they can put those squares up there. We'll assemble them all into one big unit.
Mhm.
And then we'll have something to do with that with the community. I think we'll discuss later for sure what ideas have come up with that. But it's a lot of fun seeing what colors can do. And it's
Yeah.
about lightness and darkness and how it all comes together with things that we just don't think will work. And
Yeah.
it's hopefully will be so much fun and people can learn and see that and experience that little bit of excitement of what comes together when you pull in so many different varieties, styles of fabrics and colors.
Yeah, that will definitely be unique to see, everybody's making their own individual piece and how does it come together? And Julian, it kind of goes back to what you said is there's no rules. You can do exactly what you want and it's going to turn out beautifully however it does turn out.
Mhm.
Mayor, I've got to know, have you ever used a sewing machine?
I have, but
Okay.
it's been a long time.
Okay.
Probably high school, so
Well.
to be exact. That's a very long time.
I bet
Yes, we
Anita
had
will get you on.
electricity back
I can hook you up.
That's right.
it has been a very long time.
I think one of the things that I'll sort of connect to that Anita had said was that the community quilt that is created, all of the different blocks that are created on Community Quilt Day at Wabash College will be sewn into a quilt completed by the Sugar Creek Quilters, and then it will be auctioned off at the Dining with the Chefs event that
Very
happens, I believe,
cool.
in August, that supports the Montgomery County Free Clinic.
That is
So
awesome.
so the community will put their effort into making this thing. The community of Sugar Creek Quilters will complete it, and then it will also benefit our community.
That's very, very cool. So, what else can people expect? What are some of the cultural highlights? Julian, all of your work, you said, is part of your culture. It's, part of the things that you learned growing up, and that's kind of where some of your art comes out of it. But there's more to it. What can people expect to experience when they come to these events?
Well, we are going to be serving a free lunch of barbecue, amazing barbecue. So everyone should arrive hungry because we will have lots of free food. So
Awesome.
bring your children because we will also have children's activities. They can contribute to the quilt blocks with Anita and the Sugar Creek Quilters, but also we'll have Wabash students running children's activities for different ages as well, so that they can create something that they can take with them. So we'll have free food. The other thing that we're working towards is having the liturgical dance group from Second Baptist Church come and perform. And that would connect, I think, with Julian's work as well and the experience in the Black church.
That's awesome. This is something kind of unique for our community. People probably don't think of quilting as an art form, but it goes back to, like you said, you're creating it. It is art, and we see art a lot in our community, but in different ways. Do you want to talk a little bit about how we support, our artistic initiatives? We've got different ways of doing it, and I don't know that we've seen anything like this before, but do you want to talk a little bit about how the city sees it?
We talked earlier about, history in Crawfordsville, but I think, the other thing you see in the history in Crawfordsville is we've always really embraced arts in many different ways, and you see that expressed all over the community. And I think this is just an evolution of that. The sky is the limit, right? I mean, you can literally do anything, any place. And we're seeing, I think, a resurgence of people accepting that and understanding that. For so many years, it was everything had to be in the box and nice and tidy and have to fit. And now we're seeing kind of this freer expression, if you will. So,
Right.
Yeah, no, it's very important to our community, and the arts have always been important to the Crawfordsville community for sure. I think lunch, barbecue, and quilts. I mean,
Right. What more could you ask for?
what more could you ask for?
Really? I know. I was just going to say one of the beautiful things that we did during Julian's residency was a workshop with the Sugar Creek Quilters on a Saturday at the beginning of March, and to have 20 plus members from our community, talking for a couple of hours about quilting and these different forms of art and how they think about them and practice them here in Crawfordsville was just such a magical day.
Yeah. Very unique.
It was just great. Everyone left saying, we walked into the exhibit and, you saw it, but once you were there, hearing Julian talk for those couple hours, you just gained so much from it. And I think, you come out to see the exhibit that day and you'll gain so much more of his perspective and then the contrast between what the Sugar Creek Quilters have done from very traditional to a bit more contemporary, not terribly contemporary, but a bit more contemporary. Our styles, I think, is very interesting to see.
Yeah. And this is a great opportunity to get involved and maybe try something new too. Somebody, like you said, a lot of people probably have never operated a sewing machine, or if they have, they've never taken up quilting and, thinking of it as an art, or, maybe they don't see themselves as an artist. And this is an opportunity to try something new, and it's free. So why not? There's food, why not? And it's a great way to get involved with the Wabash campus.
Absolutely. We're really looking forward to having people come out.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that any of you would like to add about this event?
I'm just so thankful from our Sugar Creek Quilters to thank Wabash for allowing us to exhibit there and to recognize our quilts as something, I hate to say worthy, but to hang in an art gallery.
Yeah.
Quilts a lot of times don't have that opportunity. So I'm very pleased with that we're offered that opportunity to be part of
Absolutely.
it.
We're so
Awesome.
happy to have had the opportunity. And one of the other things there, I feel like there's a connection each time we get to collaborate with community groups that feels like it will be sustainable, right?
Mhm.
And that, now hopefully, it will there'll be a reciprocity there where we can collaborate more in the future.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mayor. Do you have anything else?
April 2nd, 3rd, and 12th.
Yeah.
Be on
Lots going
campus,
on.
Lots going on camp. Yeah, a lot of good stuff to check out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And like we've said many times, all of these events on the Wabash campus are free. They're open to the public, and there's no reason not to show up. They're open. Wabash is welcoming the community, so show up and provide, the opportunity to engage with students, the other parts of the community. And we have Yodel, our community connections calendar and newsfeed, where you can find all of these events right there in one easy, convenient location. So everything that's going on in our community. And as always, if you have podcast topics or things that you would like to hear about, please reach out and let us know. And we thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on this podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you aren't already, follow us on Facebook at City of Crawfordsville Official, on Twitter at City of Seaville, and on Instagram at City of Crawfordsville. We hope you have a wonderful day and can't wait for you to join us next week.